Hello and welcome back to Ramblings of a Mad Guy. This week, how to escape the agnostic limbo. I was agnostic for about 5 years, if you count the years that I would say I was, but probably more like 25 years if you count the years that I just didn't know what I believed in. Praise be to God, I have escaped the limbo of agnosticism. I'm very young on my faith journey, so I want to be clear. I'm not offering any sort of like church doctrine or teaching you should go to a Bible or a pastor, much smarter people than I for that type of thing. But I just want to simply offer my experience. And because I find it fun, I'm going to frame it in the way of like an argument, right? Because that's how it happened for me. It was sort of like a argumentation process in my own head. My last video, it got about 800 views, which I'm very happy about, very grateful. But the crazy thing is that it got 120 comments. Now, granted, about half of those are mine, but that's just because I was having really fun and interesting conversations with some of you. You know, some of you had really interesting and insightful things to say, and some of you were just stupid or mean. But anyway, all that to say, bring it on, baby, because I know you're going to have something to say about this one. Okay, so why is agnostic limbo not a fulfilling or final or even particularly truthful place to lay your head? I think a definition is probably a good place to start. An agnostic is a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence of God or the nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena. But there's a second part which I want to expand on a little bit because I think this is the camp that I was definitely in and where a lot of us are sort of hanging out. The second part of the definition is a person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. This is the attitude of maybe there's a God, maybe there isn't. It doesn't really affect me. What does it matter, right? That type of, you know that. And that's what I believed, or at least thought. It's not really even a belief. It's sort of like a refusal to believe anything. But that's the headspace I was in for a long period of time, a long time. But then things kept happening to me, which were unfair. And that drove me crazy because it hadn't really mattered before if there was a God looking out for me up there, taking care of the big existential problems, because I had no existential problems. But when things happen that are completely out of your control, which happens to absolutely all of us, things that are just bigger than your ability to even handle or comprehend, you're forced to ask the most basic religious question. Is there a meaning or a purpose to all of this suffering? Or is it ultimately just sort of random chance, universal bits and bobs bumping against each other? Did something cause the universe to exist, or did nothing? So I've got to figure out the answer to this question, and it's like, where the hell do you start? Well, if it's nothing, then Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle? Sometimes I feel like my points would be more like valid if I had a British accent. So I'm just going to do a fake British accent every now and then. Bob's your uncle. Nothing exists. Cheerio. Up the apples and pears. No, but if it's nothing, then it doesn't matter. There's nothing to talk about. Like, the conversation's over. But you're not done yet because there's still the other 50% of the options. The fact that something created the universe. And to be honest, there's a hell of a lot more people on this planet that believe that something created the universe than nothing. So might at least give the devil his due, so to speak. Because it's not just superstitious Amazonian tribes and schizo Jordan Petersons that believe in God, despite what my commenters would have you believe. It's some of the smartest people in the world, academics, scientists, world leaders. Even Elon Musk believes that we are in some sort of simulation, which, hey, at least it's like a metaphysical claim. It's not a particularly robust one. It's a little bit crude, but it is something. It would be something having created this universe. And it's not just people in this country or this continent or this hemisphere or even this time period that have believed in something. Okay, so we've got to say, if God is real, can that claim in any way be verified? Like, why does everybody believe this? Have they verified that claim? Now, weirdly, the only way to verify the claims of every religion is to try every religion. Now, obviously, neither I nor anybody could try every religion. There's thousands of them, depending on how you define religion, but also the vast majority of these require you to be deeply embedded in the culture and the geographic location which these religions spawned from. So even if they did offer a genuine experience of reality, truth, higher power, God, whatever you're looking for, it would just be inaccessible to me given my location and my cultural background. It's not gloom and doom. It's not over there, because it just so happens that the religions that most people believe in, the major world religions, they have a relatively low barrier to entry. Some of them lower than others. At this point, I had ruled out Christianity. That's where I came from. Obviously, I didn't find the truth there. Went to church every week as a kid, bored out of my mind, didn't understand a single thing, didn't even try to, but forget that. I found no depth, nothing fulfilling or satisfying about the Christianity that I was raised with. So I'd ruled it out. I don't even need, cross that one off the list. Number one spot, biggest religion. That's out. That's easy. I maintained a base level of respect for Christianity as sort of my cultural tradition. I'd met many good and many smart Christians, especially studying theology, my teachers, things like that. But I still saw Christians as sort of a simple folk. This is my pride, my arrogance that just seeping in. They weren't cosmopolitan and learned like me. Vanity. That's what it is. It's a vanity. So I went to the next one that called out to me, Buddhism. I can't truthfully say that I was a practicing Buddhist. I was sort of more like a new age hippie who enjoyed meditation, but I really did enjoy meditation. Like, the bright side of it was that I interacted with thinkers and sort of spiritual leaders like Alan Watts, Ram Dass. I eventually ended up actually going right to the source material and meditating on Zen koans for like I could do it for hours. Every now and again, I go for a few hours meditating on a koan, doing a transcendental meditation, something like that. But for the most part, on a daily basis, it was sort of like, around 30 minutes a day of meditation. And that made my life a lot better. It improved my mental clarity. It helped with things like kind of anxiety and depression, like whatever kind of seeps in when you have no meaning in life, no purpose. I also was very fortunate to have some very powerful spiritual experience. None of that had verified like a particular God or a particular higher power, but it really felt from experience that there was something to reach to, something to call out to and to find. I just didn't really quite know what. Maybe it's an infinite loop, mindless and having no personality, chugging away like an algorithm, a cosmic algorithm, to no apparent end and for no apparent reason. Well, except that life is suffering. See, Buddhism and New Age just told me that life is suffering, here's the way out. But it never told me why life is suffering. And that was my fundamental question. It felt like I had run right back into the possibility that nothing had created the universe, that there was zero purpose, zero meaning. It felt like I had found something, but that was worse than believing in nothing. Because the something I had found had made a universe in which life was just suffering, like some sort of evil God. And I'd rather believe in nothing than believe in an evil God. Obviously, this is a dark valley to walk in spiritually, and I walked there for years, probably. I felt like I was so close to peace, but that it had been ripped away from me by relativism and nihilism, like it had been when I was a kid and decided not to believe in God anymore. As a blend of New Age and Buddhism, I believe that we each created our own reality within our minds and are in some small way gods of our own creation. Certainly subservient to other gods larger than us, like the weather, our bosses, our own mortality. But I determined that the meaning of life was to create the meaning of life for yourself. And this was better. I guess it was better. All the world religions were sort of just like facets on a beautiful gemstone. The gemstone is too big and too bright to be examined directly, but every religion was just like a little corner of it, like a little piece of it. But the whole gem, the truth that I've been looking for, it's just simply inaccessible to the human mind. It shines too bright and it's too big. Don't get me wrong, I still believe in this quality of truth or God. There's obviously an ineffability baked in to any concept of God. There must be. But I'm getting ahead of myself because the question has now evolved. There's some ultimate unknowable truth, and every religion has a little piece of it. So which one has the most? Because not every religion says the same thing. They all make different claims, and some of those claims are contradictory. And it was abundantly clear to me that some religions were more valid than others. Like the easiest thing was, I love Sikhism. I thought Sikhism was awesome. I didn't think it would be culturally appropriate or possible for me to join like a Sikh temple, even though they would have accepted me with open arms, certainly. I respected Sikhism as a religious structure. And I didn't respect Scientology or Mormonism. After studying those, it was clear to me that these were sort of fanatic cults, mostly aimed at making money, more like businesses than religions. Okay, so I can compare them. Some religions are better than others. Some offer more truth than others. Which one offers the most? And not just religions, I'm talking about all frameworks, like especially scientism and materialism. All my spiritual experiences could be tricks of the brain. Everyone's spiritual experience across the whole planet, I guess, could be chemical imbalances in the amygdala, as ridiculous as that sounds. To be fair, I did rule out materialism, atheism, scientism pretty quickly, because they're just absurd. There can't be only the material universe. I mean, for one thing, like the spiritual experience I was just describing, forget all that. The materialistic worldview can't say anything about metaphysical phenomena. And there are certain metaphysical phenomena you must accept if you consider yourself a seeker of any meaningful truth. Like, for instance, the phenomenon of consciousness, how consciousness arrives from inert matter, the beginning of the universe itself, what was before the beginning of physical reality, well, probably metaphysical reality. This doesn't even say anything about the really basic experiences we have almost every day, ubiquitous across the human culture, which are completely unexplainable by natural processes. That's the feeling of love, self-sacrifice. I mean, I challenge you to explain to me how you could sacrifice yourself and see that as a good thing and even do it based on like a purely biological evolutionary tract. And you would go, oh, but you sacrificed yourself for your kids. But what about a priest in a Nazi labor camp whose children are clearly not the Jewish co-prisoners who are about to be executed, volunteering himself just so that another random guy doesn't have to be killed? A guy who then survives the Holocaust and writes about it. There's many, many instances of these. There's not just the one. I think the more dark-minded of you will say, well, he's just crazy. Well, he's actually wrong. He's mentally ill. That's why he did that. It's absurd. Why would anybody become a firefighter or a policeman or join the military? These are all self-sacrificing things that have basically zero biological evolutionary explanation. But I know you guys are going to have plenty of shit to say in the comments. And once again, I welcome you. Come at me. I will debate you. And I will never stop. Okay, so I'm thrown back into the currents of the world religions, essentially. I actually spent a couple weeks walking around my college chanting, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. This is a literal, actual prayer to Ganesh, the Hindu god with the elephant head. I had looped around, like full on. I'd looped around to being a modern, ancient pagan. Like, I was practicing paganism. Sort of just believing in all the gods and paying homage to whoever happened to cross my path at the moment. But I still hadn't felt like I'd really discovered anything. And more importantly, I didn't trust myself to make my own rules. I had not always proven to be a good custodian of my own desires and sort of the things of the world that pulled me in every direction. I knew I wasn't a good custodian. I knew I wasn't, because I would take these long walks around my neighborhood in LA. And one day I was taking a walk, and it was a very, very sad walk. I had learned some news about a beloved family member, and it was just a lot. It had been a really hard year. A lot of death and decay and destruction had sort of been following me around, honestly, for the last 5 years. And I'm sure many of you can empathize with that, especially over these last 5 years. And on that walk, I realized that I had been structuring my own reality from my own hands, picking and choosing from all the different religions and all the belief structures from around the world. But I still hadn't answered the original question which I had set out for. I had no answer. I was able to construct no answer about the problem of suffering. I still had no idea what the purpose of it was, or if there even was a purpose. So on this walk, I gave up. Actually, I think surrender is probably a better word. But I gave up. I cried out to God in my heart, and I said, Lord, if you're real, just answer the damn question. Please. Please answer the question, Lord. I can't do it. I don't know how. It doesn't seem possible. I begged God to reveal himself to me, and he didn't even wait a fraction of a second. Praise be to the Lord. Within a fraction of a second of admitting that I was not smart enough, strong enough, capable enough, big enough to create my own worldview, my own answer to the problem of suffering, the Lord filled my body with this orange glowing light. I can still picture it right now. I can feel it, really. And I felt the peace that passeth all understanding. And even that wasn't enough for my Lord. Not only did I feel this peace, I looked around and I felt intimately connected to every single thing in my vision, especially the trees. Oh my God, the trees. I remember looking at their branches, every individual leaf, and feeling love for those things as if they were my own limbs, my own body. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what my commenters, my audience is thinking. This guy's high. This guy took nice acid, bro. You guys are such assholes. I was literally not 5 minutes ago, I was talking to my mother on the phone about my dying uncle and also my dead roommate. I was not exactly in the mood. I wasn't exactly dropping shrooms at Coachella and man, we're all connected, man. Whoa, everything's connected, dude. It wasn't like that. And I'd been like that, so I know what that's like. That was definitely a part of the journey. Dropping shrooms in the desert and going, whoa, dude, trippy. I was 100% sober, 100% at peace, and 100% able to make any decision that I wanted to make. And that wasn't even enough for the Lord. I heard his voice in my own head. I heard it. And yeah, I understand this is not doing anything to assuage the schizo Jordan Peterson accusations. But I can't deny it. I won't deny it. I don't want to. And I can't, in good faith, sit here and tell you, and this is the message that Christ gaveth me, and you must do as he told me. I barely even remember exactly what we talked about. I remember a few things, but I actually don't want to be specific because I think it's important for you to have that conversation yourself in a serious way and not take my word for it, but like try it. And I can't even tell you that I have like a rhetorical, verbal answer to the problem of suffering still. But what I can tell you is what I experienced. And it was the resolution of suffering. I experienced true prayer and true peace for the first time in my life, and my life has not been the same since. The problem of suffering still remains a mystery to me, but it's one that I know that Christ is bearing with me, that Jesus bore with me, for me, because he suffered more than anybody ever has in history. Certainly more than me, and probably more than you too. But he always looked to the Father, and he always had faith in God, and God glorified him before all mankind and rose him from the dead. Now, that's obviously my own personal experience, and you can't use that as like your reason for conversion or something. I could just tell you that's how it happened. But I refuse to sacrifice my rational mind and my logic in order to believe in God. And praise be to God, he would never ask me to do that. It would not be in his nature to ask me to do that. I was thrilled to begin my Christian journey with apologists and thinkers like William Lane Craig, Jonathan Pageau, Bishop Robert Barron, all of whom you should research if you're interested in starting this journey and finding a logical, rational framework to understand this fundamental question. With every passing day, I become more inspirited and more excited about this walk with Christ that started on that literal walk, however many months ago. I want to be very clear. This doesn't mean that there are no challenges. It definitely doesn't mean that there's no suffering. In fact, as a Christian, I'm committed to bear my own suffering with grace and with faith and love for God, something that I was trying to run away from, to get this cross off my back. I don't know what I got to become, a Hindu or a Buddhist or a New Age or an atheist. Just get it out of here. But you can't. And the beauty of it is that God is so loving, so powerful, that when you actually take that cross and you carry it willingly up the mountain to your own crucifixion, then you are glorified, you're resurrected, and you get to share in the actual life eternal that we're all longing for. So God bless you, my friends. I hope you're able to escape the agnostic limbo and that this was somewhat interesting. And peace.